He quietly unlocked the world's most secret safes like a magician. He transformed Nobel Prize-winning equations into simple childlike drawings. He was both the mastermind of the team that split the atom and a rhythm master, playing the bongos at night. While everyone was trying to solve the universe, no one could solve his mind. He is Richard Feynman, and this is Logos Gate. If you are ready, we are unlocking the gates. Chapter 1. The Pattern Inside the Silence. 1918. Far Rockaway. While the salty wind of the ocean rattled the windows, the rhythm of life was the same in most houses. Go to work, come home, turn on the radio. But in the basement of one house, the rhythm was broken. For little Richard, play wasn't about running in the streets, but that sensation at his fingertips, that slight resistance he felt as he fitted a cold screwdriver into a screw slot, that thin, squeaky sound of metal rubbing against metal. For most people, this is just a repair, but for him, it was the beginning of a dialogue with inanimate objects. When radios in the neighborhood broke down, he wouldn't dismantle them immediately. First, he would pace back and forth, stop, and just listen. The smell of burning dust from a heating vacuum tube, or a rhythmic, muffled crackle coming from the speaker. These were the clues whispering to him where the fault lay. While his family thought he was staring helplessly, he was actually taking the pulse of the system. The architect of this perspective was his father, Melville. Walking in the woods, his father would never give him ready-made answers. He would only make him look in the right place. While other fathers made their children memorize the Latin names of birds, Melville would stop his son and ask him only to watch. Don't get stuck on the name, Richard. Names are words people invented to label objects. Look at the motion. Why is that bird preening its feathers? Is it cold, or is it preparing to fly? He learned that day the massive chasm between knowing the name of something and knowing what it does. As the years passed, the borders of Far Rockaway began to feel too narrow for this mind. The rote formulas written on the blackboard by teachers seemed slow, and the textbooks insufficient. He wanted to play not by others' rules, but by the universe's own rules. His route was clear: Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. As he packed his suitcase, he thought university would be just like those radios. Find the broken part, solder it, and fix it. He was sure everything had a logic, and every problem had a clear answer. But when he stepped through those heavy stone doors, it wasn't just difficult equations waiting for him. He was met by a chaos that no formula could explain. And the one thing that even his flawless logic could not fix. Chapter 2. The Only Unsolvable Equation. MIT, 1939. This was the kingdom of certainty. Here, every question had an answer, every unknown had a formula. And Richard Feynman was like the prince of this kingdom. Walking through the corridors, the shapes spinning in his mind were much faster than the equations on the board. While professors were explaining a problem, he had already seen the result, gone to the end of the solution, and was smiling back at the start. For him, physics wasn't a difficult subject. It was jazz music played with notes. But when he walked out of the campus gates and into that hospital room, the rhythm of the music changed. Arlene. Her smile was the clearest reality in Richard's complex world. But there was a glitch in Arlene's breath that even Richard's intellect could not repair. The doctors had whispered the name of that famous, terrifying disease. A silent and stubborn shadow growing in her lymph nodes. Richard was trapped between two worlds. By day, he was unraveling the deepest secrets of matter, playing with the rules of the universe. By night, while trying to lower the fever of the woman he loved, he was learning how cruel the universe could be. On one side, the genius Richard who knew everything. On the other, the human Richard who could stop nothing. Yet, it was Arlene who gave him strength. Whenever Richard hesitated, Arlene would say that magical sentence. "What do you care what other people think, Richie?" This sentence became armor, explicitly forced for Richard's soul. They didn't know it at that moment, but he would need this armor very soon, because not only Arlene's body, but the world itself was about to catch a terrible disease. Chapter 3. The Call of the Desert. The news was no longer just on paper. The fire across the ocean was now at the doorstep. Science had ceased to be a tool of discovery. It had turned into a race for survival. While Richard was working at his desk at Princeton, an offer arrived that changed the direction of his life. The men before him were not offering a university chair, but a mission. Their sentences were clear. We must find this before they do, otherwise the sky will never be the same again. Richard's first reaction was to resist. His time was short. He wanted to spend this precious time not in a cold laboratory, but by Arlene's side, but that curiosity inside him. And the question, what if we can do it? This was a gravitational force stronger even than love. The idea of unleashing that immense energy locked within the heart of matter had hijacked his mind. He placed Arlene in a care home far from the city, where he could see her at least on weekends. And then he set off for that place not shown on maps. The place he went to had no name, just a post office box number and coordinates. A secret town surrounded by fences, built in the middle of nowhere amidst the red dust of New Mexico, Los Alamos. The identities of those entering were taken at the gate, leaving behind only a number. Young Richard, walking down that dusty road, wasn't just starting a job. He was going to be part of history's biggest, brightest, and most dangerous experiment. In his bag were letters to write to Arlene. In his mind was the secret of the sun. But when he stepped through that gate, what he left behind wasn't just his civilian life. Innocence had stayed outside that gate. Chapter 4. Behind the silent doors. As the train moved through the steppe, the strange silence descending upon Richard grew heavier. The noise of the cities, the laughter of university canteens were left behind, replaced by an inexplicable weight. Looking out the window, the horizon was flat. It was as if the world was pulling him into a narrowing tunnel. And Richard realized at that moment. This train wasn't just taking him to a city. It was carrying him to an irreversible possibility. When he arrived at Los Alamos, the first thing he felt was that unspoken discipline. This wasn't a research center, it was a barracks. He looked at the badge given to him as he entered. There was no name, just a number and a colored stripe. At that moment, he ceased to be Richard Feynman and became a piece registered in the state's top-secret inventory. No one spoke an unnecessary word. Everyone walked as if carrying a secret in their pocket. When he settled into his room, he stared into the light of the flimsy lamp on the desk. For a while, he did nothing but watch the flickering of that light. His mind had already begun calculating the frequency of that flicker without realizing it. No matter where in the world he went, that urge to make sense of things never left him. In the first briefing, a cold fluorescent light hit his face. He glanced at the papers on the desks of the people around him. The equations he saw didn't look like the theoretical problems he solved at university. These were predatory. The numbers on the paper were like codes arranged to break the chains of nature. The weight of uncertainty was immense, but the dangerous curiosity inside Richard always defeated fear. When the meeting ended and everyone dispersed like robots, Richard made brief eye contact with the man next to him. The concrete-like expression on the man's face cracked instantly with Richard's mischievous smile. Even in the middle of a strange, cold, and deadly project, he could create warmth. It was as if to say, "We are here and we are in trouble, so we might as well have fun." When he was taken to his lab, the metallic smell of the devices and the tension seeped into the walls surrounded him. But he sat at his desk not like a guest, but like the host. There was such comfort in the way he picked up his pen that everyone in the room felt the same thing. Even if this man didn't belong here, he had a mind that would devour everything here. When the day ended and he returned to his room, he didn't turn on the lamp. He just opened the window. There was a strange tone in the howl of the desert wind outside. As if the earth felt what was preparing to wake up beneath it and was trembling. He took that letter out of his jacket pocket. Arlene's handwriting. As his fingers traced the corners of the paper, a single question spun in his mind. What exactly do they want from me here? The answer to this question was not yet visible. But the feeling was clear. This gate he entered was not the first gate in his life, but it was the heaviest. And now the real issue was this. Was there a discovery behind this door that would empower him? Or a truth that would break him and the whole world? In the grey corridors of Los Alamos, Feynman was not just picking the locks of safes. He was unlocking the closed doors of science and the human spirit. Yet, pure intelligence and endless curiosity may not always be enough. In the next part of our series, we will see how this heavy pressure pushed Feynman to his limits and how his mind stood trial under the shadow of this massive project. Feynman's story does not end here. In fact, the real knot is only now being tied. In the continuation of our series, we will dive deeper into this closed world and continue to trace the footsteps of his genius. We look forward to seeing you in the upcoming chapters, where we will explore the boundaries of science, curiosity, and what it means to be human. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story has sparked your interest, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because there are many more secrets to uncover at Logos Gate.